That's it. I pressed it.
We're
doing
recording.
this. Oh man.
Yay. I got a couple
begin.
things written down, but
Please.
well, these were just ideas that I kind of wrote down at the time, like just as we've been working through these little things here. So the first thing I wrote was like intentions, like why we're doing this and how did this come about? And then the other three things I wrote were new beginnings, vision, and laughter.
I think it's so curious that both of us probably have like a pen and a notepad in front of us as we converse and as we share. We're most likely going to be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah.
Yeah. You see me scribbling.
Oh well, I give you the honors. If you wanna go first with one of your many notes, any ideas?
Yeah. The biggest thing for me really is the throat chakra staying open and an outlet for it to be open, and just a learning experience for me on sharing through that. And yeah, and I want it to be fun and entertaining and light.
Yeah.
I'd say those are my primary ones. Yeah.
Nice. So good. I totally agree. Like a place where, you know, there's no judgment being held. It's very free. It's very light. You know, that inner child kind of comes out and it gets to be a little curious, and it gets to play a little bit, but then also there is there's an attraction. There's like some sort of urge for me to want to express in ways that may seem sometimes a little bit too much in the clouds, and sometimes a little bit way too deep in the rooted of everything. But I feel like society kind of like lets us be in the middle, like that neutral, like that comfort zone. And I kind of like venturing up and down, right? And
I gotcha.
I love how this can be like that outlet.
Yeah, a space for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to talk about like how this kind of came about? Like you and I know, but for anybody watching, just
I feel like my version of the story would be like, throughout the summer I would work for you in Jacoby once a week, and as we got familiar with each other, we started opening up with these different concepts, and you started telling me about like the dream realm, and we started figuring out that we have like a lot of things in common, and we can kind of bounce things off of each other and help heal and help discover and play a little bit too. It wasn't always
lots of play.
Super serious. Let's be serious. With our hands like the color of the dirt and our shoes kicked off at the beginning of the field. Like, it was good. And I remember, and I don't think I told you this, but I remember the day that you and Jacoby were like thinking about moving back, or moving to the island, maybe not back to the island, but moving to the island. And there's like this little voice inside of me that's like, but we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Like, you can't move away to the island. Like, there's still something that we need to do together. So I didn't want to put the pressure on you guys and be like, oh no, you're not allowed to move because of me. But it was pretty neat. Kind of once the season ended, and we still felt like we can hold these conversations and nurture each other's curiosity with regards to the different philosophies, the different concepts that I don't really get to share a lot with other people. So I was super stoked. I don't even know like what happened. Again, it's probably like that. Something was just like, hey, you should ask Jess if she wants to start a podcast with you. And I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll ask her.
Yeah.
I love radio stuff. I listen to the radio all the time, and that's how I got to ask you. It's like, come on, wanna do this? I don't know why you said yes, but I do know why.
Well,
I'll
like
let you
2
share.
days. Yeah. I'm happy we're doing this. To build on that, what happened like 2 days before you asked me is I had a dream, and in the dream, the teaching or like the message that came through was like, look up 2 girls and like a squirrel. Like when the message comes through, it's not always super clear, right? But it's a general idea. And so it was like, look this up. And it kind of had this aspect of like 2 girls and a rodent, you know. But my dad has always called like me and my mom squirrels, like, or when he talks about girls, he always says squirrels. So it just kind of, I don't know, and it rhymes and whatever. But anyways, I had that dream, and then I was like, I don't know where the podcast idea had come from, but you texted me right after that, and I was like, no way, I just had a dream about this. And it just, I don't know, it just, here we are.
Here we are. Indeed.
Yeah. But whatever it is that it'll turn into, like, I feel like both of us are really just open to, like, your whole philosophy has been like, just begin, you know. It's like, just start it, just like, even it's like being in front of a camera, it's like, I'm like kind of comfortable, but I'm not like fully comfortable yet, you know. It's like easing the body into it, like just getting used to it. And yeah, it's fun.
It's interesting because it's something new, but at the same time, it if I kind of stop thinking about it and just like let all the ego stuff aside, it somewhat feels familiar. Like it somewhat feels like, no, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Just trying to quiet everything that's, you know, the doubt and like the perfectionism. Oh God.
Yeah.
It's okay. They'll never know how many takes it took us to get to this recording.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It feels like it should, right? Just natural, easy, way life should be, you know.
Yeah. Aspects of it do feel raw, but that feels very natural, and like even with like the farming incorporated into it, just like happening, you know, just real.
I mean, this won't be like a season of like only growing onions, but it could have somewhat of a similarity feel to it, right? Like there's possibilities of us just, you know, maybe repeating the same things, or like having a couple episodes that are just like, oh, you guys already kind of talked about that over and over and over again. And then eventually like you and Jacoby, kind of your fields were blossoming, and you had like so many different varieties, and you go to the market, and like that's where I was first attracted to you guys. I mean, you guys are awesome as people, but the way that your stand stood out, basically. Like it just glowed. It glowed. See, English, not the best. Right? And it's just like, whoa, and I just like had to know more.
Yeah, for sure. And I know like when I met you too, it was just like, well, and this is a cool story too. So I think I might have told you this last week when we were chatting on the phone, but my aunt told me, I was visiting her, and she was like, you're going to meet someone in like 8 or 9 months who you'll be able to talk to about all this stuff. And then I don't know the exact timing, but it was around 8 or 9 months. That was when you like sent us the email, and then we met you at market and all that.
Oh, that long ago. Like the first.
Not like
last season. Okay.
Like even before we met, it was like 8 or 9 months before that. She predicted it. Like she was like, you'll be able to talk to this person about this, you know. And that's what we do. It's like, even Jacoby today, he's like, what are you guys going to talk about? I was like, I don't really know. I was like, it'll just kind of flow.
Let like the awkwardness kind of feel itself out, and then it'll be like we're back in the field again, right? It'll be like,
for sure.
It's just a
when
little bit
it flows.
little different environment.
I know. I've been missing it for sure. Even though it's like, I feel like when we finish the season, I'm always like, oh, I'm so grateful for like home and like indoor space and just like hunkering. But I don't know. It never really stops, you know, it just kind of slows down in the winter. But yeah, maybe go there tomorrow.
I feel like that's the way it should be, though, with anything that you put, anything that you're meant to do, it doesn't usually stop. Like even if you do get sick, or if you like you have some hardships with finances or something like that, right? Like once you're on the path that you're meant to be on, it really does just keep going. And sometimes like when I worked with you guys in the summer, it was just like, whew, like you guys were like riding the wave, riding the clouds, right? Like just giving her 110%. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable. It's not realistic, right? So you have the down season and
yeah. And it always seems that as soon as the new year hits, we're like itching again, even though it seems these days that like December, at least in like Essex County here, it's like December has been kind of rainy and like there's been quite a few warm days, whereas I feel like January, February gets into kind of like the more cold winter. And even then it's like, I don't know if it's the sunlight hours or what, but we feel it kind of like momentum picking up again, or just like the itch to get back out there. And yeah.
Well, I guess that totally sinks in, like you said, with like nature and the seasons changing and stuff like that, because you guys are so connected to what you do that it's almost just like intuitive that, you know, your body responds to that process, right? It
craves it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How many people can say that they crave their job, that they crave to do what they do?
Yeah. But it's funny because we have been in this house for about like a month and a bit now. It's like, and not living outside, there is a bit of a disconnection that change, or not, I don't know, I hesitate to use disconnection, I guess, but like it's noticeable, the rhythm change, you know, like when we're in the season and living there and just like in it, it's like I don't even think about being outside. But now that we've been like in the house and stuff, I feel myself like actively trying to like get outside. I'm like writing it like go outside once a day, you know, which seems so like silly and so like yeah, but it's like I have to like intentionally do it right now, you know, whereas like in the farming season it's just like it's just there, like it's just happening.
One thing I've been guided to do, I guess, from, you know, different sources is the brain training, so the muscle training and stuff like that, right? So when you were talking about that, it made me realize that, you know, you guys have basically wired your brain that this is like the way of life, right? So once that that path is disrupted, like being in a house all the time, it's almost like your brain's like, hey, this isn't what we were trained to do. Like I'm pretty sure you know, you get those cravings and stuff like that. And I find that that's like the perfect example that it works, like that the mind can be retrained. Like it's just a muscle. You just need to get into a routine. But at the same time, when you're passionate for something, that makes all the difference, because it makes the training like playful.
Yeah, or like effort, like it's just kind of incorporated. Yeah, for sure. I guess you need both, right? Like it's nice to have this time to reassess where I'm at too, and just and I always find in the winter I reassess things from more of like, I guess, a mental standpoint, whereas during the season it's like practical, kind of like we're saying there, it's just kind of part of it. Whereas like I find myself lately, if I come across a thought that's kind of heavy or it's pulling me down one of those same kind of pathways, I find myself like visualizing it, like kind of wiping it. Like I've been visualizing like wiping my brain clean. And the other night I had a message that was like, clean and clear your mind. And so then I visualized these like little, I don't know, like critters, like inside of my brain, on the inside of it, like scrubbing and like did the whole
Oh,
rim.
good.
Yeah, and it felt great. It felt great. It was really nice. And so I find like in the winter months or like these slower months, it's like I'm more in that space. Whereas like during this, I don't know, like in the summer, it's like I just don't even have to think about it. But maybe I'm also like scrubbing some of the gunk from the summer right now too, because you almost just like throw everything aside, focus, like do this, you know.
I feel like it might be, I don't want to say the opposite, but it's, for me, when I was experiencing it with you guys, it was like when you're there, there's no room for the gunk to get in, because you're in the dirt, you're in the sunshine, you're in all the elements, you're in your element. And I'm almost curious to know if the gunk is only coming in now because you slowed everything down. So now again, like it's the external noise, the over information, you know, even maybe other people, because maybe you haven't seen other people when you're so focusing on your gig throughout the summer, that now your mind's a little bit more, I should say, less in that like flow, and it's more getting the gunk of others too. That's what I was feeling.
The other night I did like a clearing where I was like, and I find myself doing this, like I've done this so many times, and of like clearing myself of anybody else's energy, right? Where I'm like, this isn't like anything that's not mine is to go, right? And then I've been getting to this point where I'm like, why do I even have to be asking this? Like, why am I even acknowledging that this exists? Because it's like, that's giving it kind of existence in a way, you know? But it is important, like who you're around, what you're, you know, obviously we always talk about like what you put in your body is important, right? Like what you're eating, what you're breathing, what you're drinking, like all those things. So with a transitional time, I guess, as the body's shifting, it can feel a little discombobulated, you know, but it's it balances out.
It balances out because you guys have built the strength to put your bodies back in homeostasis, right? Like, you have that foundation, and you continue to strive towards it, and that's what you believe in. So coming back to the flow and the balance, it might not seem easy for you because you're working through it. But I feel like a lot of people probably don't even get to that point, A, where they realize that they're out of flow, or B, they don't have that foundation in order to know where the flow is, right? Like they're kind of up and
feel it.
Yeah. So
this was a couple days ago. We did a couple things that were kind of out of our regular routine, and I was really feeling it, like physically and mentally, and just like there was a lot, and like it was just like there was ripple effects from it that like caused me to feel out of flow, and I felt like I lost my connection to like whatever it is that each person connects to, right? But like my connection, like my center, like I felt off center from doing these things, right? And so for like 2 days, basically, like when we were texting, right? And I was like, yeah, I felt like loopy, you know, like I felt like off. And then last night or the night before, I was like, I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, and I just like wrote down just whatever was coming through. And then I laid back down and I felt the connection again. And I was like, oh my God, I missed this. Like, I was like, I can't believe that we were disconnected. Like, it was like the most joyful reuniting with this energy that like is me, you know. But I was like, I couldn't believe how disconnected I felt from it, even just for 2 days, and how like I don't know the word, like so sad to be disconnected, and but not even realizing I was, you know, until I reconnected and was like, oh my God, this is my place, you know, like this is and like, yeah. So it's like when you're not in the flow, sometimes you don't even realize you are until you're back in the flow, because then you're like, oh, like this is home, you know, like this is this, like, but when you're not in it, it's like, I don't know. It's like things that I thought I had already kind of worked through were like, you know, seeping their way back through. I was like, oh, get out of here, get out of here.
I did not leave that door open for you to enter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't, that, I'm like trying for words because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I find that, I don't even know if we've had this conversation before. We've talked about this, but it's like, so for me, I'll go through the day, and usually it's kind of like neutral or whatever. And there'll be these moments, and I call it out. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's me. That's me. And it's exactly what you were describing. It's like centered. It's powerful. It's confident. It's truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can figure out when I'm not in the flow. I think because I took the whole year off for my recovery, that I was very much internalizing. I was very much focused on just me. I was, and it was obviously like the pandemic too. So that just heightened my sense of self. But what I have to be careful of is that when I'm not feeling the way I know I should be feeling, I can't let it spiral me down.
Yeah.
That was the biggest struggle, right? It's like just recognizing and being like, okay, well, what do I need to do to get out of that journaling? Do I need to take a nap? Do I need to bath? Do I need to walk? You know, like, do I need to cleanse? Do I need to talk to somebody? Like, I think that that's super important, and just to not let it happen for long periods of time, right? Because again, it's like that training mechanism. If you can engage your soul, your spirit, your higher self to be like coming back a lot, like your recovery time's a lot faster.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel that. Yeah. And that builds momentum, because then you feel encouraged, right? You're like, okay, like this is working. I've put in the time, and I can feel it actually working. So that kind of gives you a little like confidence boost to keep practicing and keep, I guess practice really. And I feel like the practice is always changing, like maybe at different times it's like certain visuals are helping me, but then at other times it's like mantras, right? And
or sticky notes.
Yeah. Love that. You should hold it up to the camera. I love that.
It's backwards. It's backwards.
No, I was able to read it.
Well, celui que j'aime le plus, c'est celui-ci. Puis c'est une citation d'un stoïque.
Can you put
c'est un peu plus proche? Non, je pense que c'est mieux comme ça. Alors, ça dit, dis-toi d'abord ce que tu veux être, puis fais ce qu'il faut pour le devenir.
Okay.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's the doing.
Yeah.
It's just beginning.
Just begin. I'm glad we have. It feels good. I feel like I've kind of loosened up some of the jitters. I definitely feel it in my throat chakra right now. But yeah, feels good. Well, and on that, it's just like steps, right? Or like intentional steps, intentional movement.
I feel like I've heard that before. Intentional steps,
Somewhere.
some sort of. I won't say it in public. It's fine.
Yeah,
We'll just
yeah.
hack into everything. But intentional. I don't even know if maybe some people nowadays understand what their intention is. You know, if they even look for something that that serves their purpose. There's just, maybe it's just me, maybe other people have had opportunities where they can, you know, live a life where it's all about their intentions, all about what they feel, their purpose. But for me, there definitely feels like I need to cut away at some of the gunk, and just like hold my own truth. And stuff like this, like conversations like this, like I'm gonna, after we're done, you know, then I'm gonna proceed to my day, and I'm gonna be like, oh, like I got to speak my truth for, you know, however long.
Yeah, I felt that way last week, like when we talked on the phone for like an hour, right? Like just like discussing and just our chats, right? I felt like the rest of my day, I felt like open, like definitely throat open and heart, you know, just like, I guess open is the feeling, but it was noticeable for sure.
And I think, or I feel that it's also what we talk about, like, that can nourish or deplete, you know, the spirit too. So sometimes when I talk to certain people, like you can just, like what we're talking about is just like, okay, like I'm good with that, but it's not really like, I'm not getting like the back and forth energy exchange, right? It's kind of just like very neutral, very safe. And I think that once people can find a place where they can express without judgment, doesn't matter if you're up in the clouds or whatever, right? Like they can, it'll like, again, the ripple effect, like I feel like it'll start to ripple, and then they feel differently after the conversation, and who knows what ideas they get from other people. So maybe these types of conversations, these types of recording will inspire others too, just to do their own exchange.
Yeah, for sure. And uplift and lighten the load in some way, whatever it is, you know. I feel that. The ripple effect thing is interesting. It's definitely been a very big thing for me lately, like visually and even in my body, like noticing. And so actually, and I pulled a card this morning, and it was Circle of Life was the title of it too, and the picture of it was like stones that had been placed in circles, like kind of rippling outward. And so there's a couple things here. So the past couple weeks I've only done this maybe 2 or 3 times, but I've sat at my table and looked at across the table, and did I tell you about this last week? I can't remember if I okay. Sitting across, looking at the chair across from me, and behind the chair is these like whitish gray curtains. I can just like that.
Right. Literally.
Yeah.
Whitish gray curtain here. I love it.
Yeah. So I was sitting across from that looking at it, and I was like holding the intention of like opening the third eye and connecting with whatever energies wanted to come through. Like my guides, like familiar ones. And when they came through, it was through color, and it was circles. And instead of rippling outward though, like, so like say you're going to drop a stone in the water, right? And it ripples outward. The colors that like the purple that was coming to me was it was like rippling, but it was rippling inward. So it was like a reverse stone ripple.
Yep.
And it was like coming in waves inward, and it would just be like purple. So it'd be like a band like this of purple, and then it would come inward, and then another one would come in, and it would just like, it would move like that. And so that was like how I connected with that guide. And the other, yeah, I'm gonna leave that at that for now. But so the other ripple that I got a lot of things going on.
Narrow your focus.
The other ripple that's been very noticeable to me lately is just like, first of all, when I was setting intentions in the past, I expected them to kind of come to fruition right away. Even though, especially through farming, it's like I've learned nothing happens instantly. It's like some stuff can, you know, a fruit tree is going to get, you got a few years before you're even getting fruit, you know, it's like intentions have different timelines and lengths, right?
Yeah.
And
it takes a lot for the universe to kind of line everything up, really, especially if you're like very specific about your attention. I've learned that too.
Yeah. And so the ripple effect I've been feeling is like, if I make the intentional decision to eat something, or like, yeah, if I'm gonna eat something to make me feel a particular way, it's like I might not feel that for like a day or a day and a half or 2 days even. And the same thing when we made the intentional decision, or made the decision to do these things that they didn't really resonate with us that much anymore, but we did them anyway.
Yeah.
And it was like the ripple effect was not that day, although I did feel some ripples that day, but it was even the next day, you know, and then like the night after. And like, so that's been more on my radar lately, is like, and I guess even with these conversations, right, it's like the ripple, kind of what we were just talking about, the rest of your day has a ripple effect, right? The rest of the week, like leading up to the next one, like there's always these different kind of circles, I guess. So
when you were describing it, I have this sensation of just remembering that, like, even though the ripples are happening, even though you drop the stone and they kind of go out or they come in your case with your guide, is that even though there are ripples, we still hold power to make other decisions, to make other ripples. So
yeah,
when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, to me, that sounds like once it's happening, it's kind of just happening, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the same time, I feel like there should always be an option to set a different ripple within that ripple that you're in control of, that then you can spread a different way, right?
For
and
sure.
I thought that was I never actually thought about that concept before. I never really came to me until we were having this chat, and I was like, but what if like the ripple effect isn't just like those circles? What if you could add a ripple to the ripple, thus creating new ripples? Right?
I love it.
Which is, for me, empowering, because again, it's all
yes.
about creating what serves you, right? And guiding it with love and compassion and peace and all that positiveness. And knowing that we will always have choices, and it's good that we have choices. It's good that you learn from the choices that you make, with regards to it being a negative impact or a positive impact. But within our society, I find that there's so many options, there's so many opportunities, there's so much information, that if we make like a choice, like a food choice, for example, because, you know, we're both about food, that we're like, ooh, this isn't going to sit well, I'm pretty sure, you know, there's something out there that can help heal it, even maybe like a little bit faster, or that can kind of balance it out a little bit. If it's too hot, you know, you can have something cooling. If it's too energetic, you can have something calming, and add that in. And there's always a way to kind of to put everything back in homeostasis. But again, it comes down to the just do, the actions, the just begin, right? It's you make these choices, and that was easy. I did that. But then can you make the choice to help it if it needs help? Can you do that?
For
And I
sure.
feel like sometimes we, and maybe not like just you and me, but like society in general is kind of just like, oh, well, you know, that was pretty crappy choice, I'm just gonna live with it, right? Rather than like seeking out alternatives, like, okay, that was a really crappy choice, but how can I make that negative sensation a little less negative, or a little less painful, or a little less uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. The one that comes to mind for me is like when you're talking about the food is, and I recognize that I do this, is like I'll eat something or like try something out and then be like, especially since I've been reintroducing foods, you know, as I go along on this reintroduction of everything, it's like it's all in the mind for me. It's like I have to overcome, or I'm like releasing these beliefs of, oh, this is going to make you feel tired, or this is going to make you feel just like inflamed, you know. Those were kind of, I guess those would be the two main things that when I was cutting out meat and cutting out dairy and even eggs for a bit, you know, it's like those were the primary feelings. And when I have like lucid dreams, and if there's a particularly nasty vibe that's lingering, I'm not able to, like, what I used to do was like try and repel it with the same energy, right? I would be like, get out of here, you know, like, or I would like close my eyes, or I would like picture myself like, you know, just like fighting against these energies that were like, you know, just like these lower energies. And then lately it's been, instead of giving back the same energy, it's like breathing into a higher energy, I guess, right? And like in the one dream I had, I literally just like was repeating like, you know, like love, like just like repeat, and it seems so silly and simple, right? But it was like, it helped me and it pulled me higher than, like, I don't know, I guess I just picture it like these like bands of like wavelengths, I guess, right? And it's like I was like chilling in this wavelength, and then by whatever mantra or whatever it is that pulls, that is for you, right, that helps you, it's like it helped pull me out of that wavelength and brought me to this like just like a place of better feeling, I guess. So it's like incorporating that aspect into everyday life with like the food and everything. It's like not acknowledging these like kind of lower frequency beliefs I have, right? It's like seeing them, acknowledging them, but it's like finding ways to kind of pull myself into a higher frequency with it. And I don't know exactly what it is I'm doing right now. That's I can't think of any particular example, but yeah, the incorporation for sure. And I think it ties in with reconnection, maybe is a nice word for it, right? It's like reconnecting with the higher self. And then if you're in a frequency that's aligned with your higher self, the higher self can embody more, right? It's like when we were talking about, oh, like, hey, frequency, or like, hey, flow, like
Oh,
yeah,
that's me. There it is.
Yeah.
I found it. Can you just stay a little longer, please? Like, you can hang out. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah. Finding ways to reconnect with that and hold it strong, you know, it's like this like power. A little story for you. So this morning I was stretching and it was still kind of dark out and our windows were all open, and so I could see the reflection in the window, but I like looked up at this one point, and in the reflection I saw this, it would be like a native chief, was the visual I got, and it wasn't, I couldn't really see the face, but it, like I could see the whole outline. They had long hair, and they were standing there, and it was almost like a shawl across. And so as I first saw it, my initial instinct was like, whoa, you know, like when you see something kind of like, and it was very tall, and just like standing there, like super like tall and like strong and steady. And this is the first time this has happened to me, like as I'm opening my third eye and like connecting with my clairvoyance, right? And like I've had so much fear in the past with opening the third eye and like what I'm gonna see, and that comes from this old stuff. And this was such a friendly, like, but powerful way to connect, right? Like same with the color circles, right? Like that's super playful for me. That's light. That helps me just like feel comfortable and recognize it. But this was like the first time I really saw like a human like stature like that.
Yeah.
And what was cool too is I didn't feel that the gender, like it felt gender neutral. Like I was like, it could have been either or, but it was just this like very like a very dominant but like very peaceful energy. And so we pulled cards this morning, and the one Jacoby got, it was about that. It was like in Native cultures, it wasn't about like the warrior who could, you know, take on, like kill as many people, or, you know, like the strongest, like that aspect. It was the warrior who had the presence to make enemies lay their weapons down. You know, it's like this like big presence of like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I felt that. And
oh, I lost you. Like I lost you. You got a little,
okay.
What do we call that? The little internet delay, pause.
It says my internet was unstable.
And they always like pause you in like the most ugliest, like awkward, is like when you're like mid-sentence. Like, we'll just wait.
It's okay. I was babbling. So
that wasn't the internet. That was just the universe saying like, hey, you just need to take a breath there. Take a breath.
Yep. It was an edit.
Natural
video
edit.
Yeah. Cool. I'll leave it at that.
So good. That's so good. I admire how you're able to like see things, and like your lucid dreams, and like how you're tapping into that, because it's something that I'm like totally into, but I don't know if it's like a laziness, or if it's just like I don't want to do the work per se. I would love for it to just kind of like come. But I know that that's not really realistic. Like, even though it's an energetic enterprise, it's the universal energies and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure one day I will probably dedicate some time, some effort to that sort of training. So I just, whenever you like talk about that kind of stuff, I'm just like, oh, tell me more. I just want to hear it all. I want to be there with you. I want to see it. I want to feel it. It's so good.
I appreciate the openness and your listening, because I definitely have a very thin, small window that I can talk to Jacoby about it before it's like, all right, that's enough.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. What I wish I had, I don't even know, like a huge reminder is like or if like the world can understand, like the person I want to say like the person who is valued the most is the person who can have the other lay down their guard, lay down their weapons. It was just the other day, somebody was messaging me about Gandhi and how, and I wish I kind of had the story better, but about how he was able to convince, and I'm totally going to butcher this, the other army to not fight by just him, right? Like he didn't have an army behind him intimidating the other armies, being like, we're going to beat you. And somebody out there probably knows the story a lot better than me, but it's that concept that like, if you stand for what's right, for what's just, for what's truth, for what the heart of the people need, then ideally you would like the other side to think that, well, you know what, that's pretty much right. Like we're all basically humans. We all have to be connected at some point with some sort of desire to have this utopia, to have this peace, to have this like open heart, being able to like just live on this planet connected to each other and helping each other, right? So yeah, I just, when you were telling me the story, I was just kind of like trying to envision like what amazingness would it be if I don't know, one person in each city or one person in each community was just like, this is what we're going to do. This is going to be, we're going to help everybody. We're going to do this. And then like the 50 other people, the 100 other people, the 1,000 other people are just like, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, let's do that. Let's start off by, you know, dissecting what's already built and seeing how we can integrate a more wholehearted existence, a more wholehearted sense of community. Because at the end of the day, like that's what's going to keep us, our species, surviving, is once we get together. It's not about the division. It's not about, you know, like you said, the warrior that can slay the dragons and dehead Medusa. It's the one that's, I don't know. For me, it just makes sense. So it's hard to describe. It's like, no, it just
it's like a okay. Oh, yeah, it feels good. Like I feel that.
See, I just went a little deep.
No, it's good. I had something I was that kind of rang in my mind when you were the visual of the reconnection. That's been a big word for me lately, is like what does reconnection feel like, you know, because it would feel different for every single person, but the intention of reconnection is, I guess it's different for each person, but you know, like what does that feel like, you know, and focusing on those feelings help again pull out of the patterns, right, into the realm of where you're talking about. It's like you feel connected to your community, you feel connected to everybody, really, even people who you would think would pull you into the lower frequency or whatever you want to call it, you know, like pull you back into your patterns and stuff. It's like, and I guess ultimately on some level it's like you choose, right? Like that's been another thing I've been writing a lot lately, is like the only way something is playing out in your life is because you're choosing it, right? So if I'm feeling frustrated, or like the other day I felt angry, right? So it's like there's something that's alive within me that resonates with anger, and that's why it's playing out right now and you're feeling this, right? So it's like, and I'm choosing that. I'm choosing to feel that way. I'm choosing to like let that consume me. And it's a tough one to like, especially when feeling angry, because when you're angry, you're just like, you know, you don't want to give anything the time, but yeah.
And I find that like another common theme is that it's almost like we need to accept our negative emotions. We need to accept our lower vibrations, but then we need to do the dirty work and then release it. right?
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes we just get a little stuck, or we're not trained to do that type of pattern. We're trained, you know, to suppress, to not acknowledge it, to, you know, blame it on somebody else, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, and then back to your question, like, is this actually mine? Right? Like, that was another thing that I had written down, and I was like, okay, well, is the anger you felt, is it actually yours, or was it the person who packed your groceries, right? Or was it, you know, the person who beeped at you when you didn't go on the green light or something like that, right? Like, being a sensitive person, sometimes we also pick up on other people's, but at the same time, I still feel like there's a way that we can acknowledge and invoke it, but then work it through the system, and then give it a release, give it a, all right, now you're free, because like, obviously I don't have any space for you, so you need to go somewhere, right? But
and maybe eventually it doesn't even have to come into the body, right? It's just, it's kind of just dinging off you, like, and you're able to radiate outward your optimal frequency without kind of like it. The visual is funny because, like I said, with the circles, it was so surprising to me that they were coming inward, because everything lately has felt like it's like expansive, right? It's like everything's expanding outward, you know, like you're radiating your vibe outward to other people, they're radiating theirs to you, you know. But it was interesting to me, this inward, like, as well. I guess it's always happening in different directions, but I don't know.
I think we should end with that question.
Cool. Okay.
I think we should totally.
Yeah.
I think we've been good. I think we've been super good.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I think ending it with like a question, or like a curious, or like a concept.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Makes sense. Because, you know, if we start to tap into that, it's gonna be a whole other hour. And I'd be like
several hours later.
So thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for your time, and for you, and for Jacopo too. But thank you for this. This is c'est une fantastique occasion d'échange. Je sais pas si j'ai bien dit ça, mais c'est bien compris. Alors, si tu me comprends, rien d'autre matters. Rien d'autre.
Je le sais. C'est communiquer. C'est how you say communicate. On communiquer.
Ça dépend. La langue française, c'est un mot, ce n'est pas exactement traduit par rapport à l'autre. Tu sais, c'est le concept de la phrase, c'est le concept de ton intention, que tu devrais comme juste parler. On ferait beaucoup de fautes, c'est correct.
On parle différents modes de parler. On parle avec la bouche, on parle avec
l'esprit, l'intuition.
L'esprit, oui. Et en français. Je dois pratiquer. Quand je pratique un peu plus, plus de mots me viennent quand je pratique plus. Alors,
ton vocabulaire s'élargit.
Oui,
en effet. Alors, à la prochaine, mon ami.
À la prochaine.
OK.
Merci.
Au revoir.